Self-validation is a skill that has completely changed my life. It is one of the most valuable self-healing tools I have ever learned. When I realized how to do this correctly, it has helped me heal my body of physical symptoms. It has helped me transform my relationships from insecure to secure and just so meaningful. And it's helped me to just really break the patterns and see real lasting shifts in so many areas of my life that I've been working for such a long time on, with different types of inner work and self-development, like people pleasing, perfectionism, codependency, and even just helping me find my more of my voice, my purpose, my path. So there are some things that I've learned while on this journey to learning how to validate myself that I really want to share with you today, because I feel like they're super important for being able to implement this work effectively in your life. And I also want to share some various tools that I've leaned on at different points in my journey, so they'll be able to help you whether you're just starting out on this self-healing, self-validation journey, or if you're really far in, like I am. So welcome back to the channel. It's been a minute since I've done an educational video. I've been really enjoying just having full creative freedom and just free flow stream of consciousness type videos that I've done for the last like 2 weeks now. So I also really love teaching, so I like to mix in these types of videos as well. So let's get started with our video today. We are going to start by just kind of framing the understanding of what self-validation actually is, so that you can have a deeper understanding of what it's for, why it works, and why it matters for you. So for me, my understanding and what's been my embodied experience of self-validation is that ultimately it's a way for us to really get to know our needs, like our underlying emotional, primarily, needs that have not been validated sufficiently when we were younger, and so caused us to seek that approval of validation and that love ultimately from outside of ourselves. And it's a really painful cycle. If you're watching this video, I know you know what that feels like, to be stuck in a place where you're just wanting to be more of yourself, wanting to show up more authentically in your life, be able to share more of yourself with others, but also feel like that almost pressure and tension and discomfort of constantly being focusing on what other people are going to think of you, and just sort of shrinking down, playing small, holding back, and ultimately sometimes not even sharing at all because it feels so unsafe. And so self-validation, when we understand that it's coming from a deeper place, emotionally at least, and also in the body as well, which we'll talk about a little bit more towards the middle and end of the video. But let's just talk about it from an emotional standpoint of our emotional needs. When we have our emotional needs met in general, that's when we feel safe, secure, and more whole. This type of experience, contrary to most people's understanding, does not just happen in childhood. It's not that, I mean, yes, you are sort of set up as an adult with your childhood programming. And what's beautiful about self-healing is that we can revisit those experiences and heal those childhood traumas, bring love and wholeness and secureness to those places where we did not get our needs met. We can sort of almost rewire that entire experience just by going inwards, and I'll share with you how I did that in a little bit. But we can almost correct those experiences in our minds and our psyches and our souls by bringing that love that we did not receive to those parts of ourselves now, in this present time. So how our needs connects to that is that you need to really, it's honestly just a game of attunement. That's what self-validation is. It's trying to understand what what is this validation actually needing on a deeper level, and how can I bring that to myself? How can I create that level of security, wholeness, and love within myself as much as possible without relying or depending on an external source first? So our needs, primarily emotionally, are to feel seen, to feel heard, to feel held, to feel supported, to feel understood, and to feel loved. So we're going to get into different ways to touch on each one of those in this video, and I just wanted to give you an overview of what all of those are so you know what we're talking about. And of course, this all matters because there is a feeling, and I really hope that you've had experiences of getting your needs met from within yourself, because you would know the feeling. It's a very distinct, almost, it's very hard to describe, but for me, it's a very ethereal sort of peace, like washes over me, and safety and calmness and tranquility. It's so serene, and a space where you just know that you're okay and that everything is going to be okay. And honestly, I mean, a lot of my spiritual experiences too have sort of had this foundation of self-validation underneath them, of like receiving love from a higher source. For me, that is spirit, God, universe. For you, that might be different, but I'm just saying that this feeling of wholeness, this feeling of completeness, is what is going to let you know that you have, and not only that, but the external effects and the downstream effects of that, like healing. You might feel emotional relief, you might feel physical relief, you might feel a complete shift in the way that you think. You might have a spiritual experience, or some spiritual insight drop through when your needs have been validated effectively. So that's how you'll know that you're on the right track, is like you'll see and feel a shift somewhere in your experience. And when you trace it back, you'll understand that that was coming from you. That's the most beautiful part of it all. Okay, so now that you know what self-validation is on a deeper level and how to know whether that process is going effectively for you, let's go through some different ways in which you can do this and experience this effect for yourself. So for me, I always like to start with the internal methods, because we are talking about self-validation, so that is something that comes from within you. What I've found to be the most effective is anything that uses parts work as its core foundation, or like some form of parts work, whether it's IFS or somatic parts work, which is more of what I teach inside of my courses and trainings. But really, it's just a way. So I'm going to talk about somatic parts work, which is just connecting to your parts through your body, because that's just how I've learned to do it. But of course, there are many different styles and methods of parts work, including the more spiritual approach, which is like inner child work. Shadow work can sometimes fall into a more spiritual category too. So for me, how I like to do it, and I think I've explained this in other videos too, my most recent video on self-validation, which I might link in somewhere if I remember to do that after posting this video, but basically I'll explain it again in case you haven't seen that video. But what I mean by connecting to your parts through your body is that each part of you and has different sets of needs, and each part of you has the ability to communicate their needs through your body. Your body communicates through sensation as a general rule. And so the different sensations that we feel, for example, when you are having a hard time setting a boundary, that's something that a lot of us can probably relate to, right? Where we're feeling that like we probably know what we want to say on a deeper level, but maybe aren't able to say it in the moment. And what's happening with that, like if you pause that experience, freeze frame it, and then kind of like sort of like look at it, what's probably going on is in your body, there is a corresponding feeling and sensation that is letting you, trying to communicate to you that there is something that wants to be shared and a boundary that wants to be expressed. But whether it actually makes it out into the external world sort of depends on whether it makes it past our protections or not, and like, you know, the level of work that we've done to sort of work with all of that and work around that and through that. So, but just as a baseline, our bodies are sharing with us how we feel and through sensation, and that's how we pick up on our authentic feelings and needs. And a lot of us who have been disconnected from ourselves and our bodies for a long time might not have that awareness, or have been disconnected from that awareness. It's not that you don't have it, it's just that it's become more subconscious instead of like on the surface of your consciousness in a tangible way. So, and by the way, that can be relearned and retrained. It's just that things are just in a disconnected state right now. So that's actually good news. But these feelings are trying to communicate to you, these sensations, I mean, in the body are trying to communicate to you your different needs. And so when you can get familiar with how your body communicates to you your needs, then you can start to pick up on, okay, something is missing, or there's something that I'm needing right now. When you're, for example, feeling like a tightness in your solar plexus, or if there is like this like uh, tension in your shoulders or jaw, maybe it's could be something wanting to be said but it's being held back because of protections. And we have a lot of protections individually as based on our past experiences that will eventually soften and release when these parts of ourselves feel safe enough that and validated enough that it's okay to have the experience that they're having, to feel what they feel, to think what they think, to do what they want to do. And so when we can create enough safety on all of those levels, that whole chain of events like thinking, feeling, acting will come through more naturally. It happens more in like a seamless fashion, like all the other things that we do that we don't have inhibitions on. We don't really think about them, but when things get fragmented like this, the process of it also gets fragmented, if that makes sense. So through somatic parts work is how I've learned to reconnect these feelings to my true needs, desires, even fears, and spiritual truth, inner guidance, intuition, all of these different things speaking to me through my body. And really, it's just a practice. So I have plenty of videos where I'm walking you through some kind of practice to feel into your body. So I'll do that again now, just briefly. If you were to think about a time when, since we're talking about boundaries, think about the most recent time that you wanted to set a boundary and weren't able to, or weren't able to hold it after the fact. So just take a moment to like bring that back into the forefront of your consciousness. And as you are remembering this experience, seeing if you can allow it to sort of land in your body more, see what is happening and observing what is taking place in your body as you're remembering this experience. So just noticing if there's any areas of tension, any areas of tightness. What is your breath doing? What are you feeling in general when you remember this? So there are these cues that will come through the body even as we just remember the situation after it's happened. And this is what I was talking about before, that we can go back and bring up old experiences in a safe way and rewire them and move forward as if that had actually, like, a real healing had taken place, because it has. Like, when we revisit an old experience and bring exactly what was needed to heal that, that's how we move forward, right? So that was a very brief experience of, we didn't really even get into the parts work at all. That is reserved for my courses and trainings, because it really does take a certain, I like to keep it in a container so that it's just the practice and nothing else, because that's just energetically how I like to do things. So if you want practices to be able to walk you through step by step in how to meet and connect with these different parts of you that are feeling maybe afraid to express yourself authentically, maybe afraid to show up just as you are, and like really wanting some validation from you, I have 2 practices in a mini training called Safe to Be You. I'll link that in the description box below. And those are for greater authenticity and expression. Exactly what we're talking about, self-validation. Okay, and then aside from parts work and internal work, there are other sort of more externally based actions that you can practice as well, to address those different emotional needs that we all have that heal self-abandonment wounds. So we have, again, the needs for to be seen, heard, held, supported, understood, and loved. So let's break this down need by need. So with the need to be seen, what I've done in the past and actually did recently was mirror work. So that's a creative way to literally look at yourself in the mirror and talk to yourself. And there is something really like intimate. If you've ever done mirror work, you know what I'm talking about. But like looking yourself in the eye and talking to yourself lovingly, saying the things that you want to affirm about yourself, saying the things and acknowledging what you're feeling, what you're experiencing, can be really, really powerful. So that's for being seen. And then we also have the need to be heard. So what I really love to do for this one is to start some kind of private, maybe like voice recorded journal. Instead of a written journal, have a voice journal or some container where you can record yourself speaking and talking about maybe things that are bothering you on your mind, or that you just want to sort out and have some clarity on, or just want to express. And then you listen back to it. And in the act of listening back to it is when you're reinforcing this need to be heard. I find that it's really effective. So let me know if you try that. And then for the need to be held, that would be like actual physical touch. So a really simple way that you can start meeting that need for yourself is just by giving yourself a hug. And it's funny because like not everybody likes to be hugged. I had a client one time who actually really didn't like that. So we just played around with different types of gentle, soothing touch. It doesn't have to be a hug, but something that feels good for your body, and just not just doing it for like 2 seconds, but as you're giving that loving touch to yourself, just taking the time to let yourself take it in, like in your body, seeing if you can just allow yourself to receive that touch from yourself, and noticing in your body what the response is. And you'll find, so a lot of people who, it's interesting, a lot of people who are afraid of, or not afraid, but they sort of shy away from physical touch in relationships, probably didn't receive a lot of touch growing up. And also there's, on the other extreme, there's like people who are very touchy-feely in relationships who probably maybe also didn't receive a lot of touch. So it could really go either way, and it's just with yourself. So this is doing what's comfortable for you always, and listening to your body. Okay, then we move on to the need to feel supported. So this one you can get creative with. So any surface or sort of container that can hold your entire weight. So that could either just be laying on the ground, laying on the earth is really nice, just bare earth or grass or sand or whatever it is. And again, like feeling in your body, somatically, the feeling of the surface beneath you holding you up. Like literally thinking in your mind as you're laying there and feeling how the earth is supporting your entire weight, everything that you're carrying, not just your body, but everything that you're carrying emotionally, everything that you're carrying mentally, energetically, it's all being held by the earth. And I live by the ocean, so what I like to do sometimes if I'm not surfing is just to go out and float in the ocean with a wetsuit on because it's so cold here. But just floating in the water, you can do this in a swimming pool as well, or even a bathtub. Even though you wouldn't be fully floating in a bathtub, but you know what I mean? Like just letting the water hold you and seeing if you can like bring that feeling and get in really ease into that feeling of being like wrapped and like enveloped. And also you can wrap a blanket around yourself. You can like lay in a hammock like or a zero gravity chair, recliner, on the couch, like really anywhere where you can just fully like relax into it. It feels really good when you're needing to feel supported. That's one of my favorite. I frequently need this one for myself. And then we have the need to feel understood. So this one is sort of, we've already talked about this at length. Like it's the need to be like attuned to, the need to have your needs met and heard and understood and seen in all these different ways, but also for you to just like have compassion for yourself and knowing that your experiences are valid just as they are. You don't need to over justify even to yourself. Like sometimes I think that self analysis can be a way for us to sort of justify our own actions and behaviors to ourselves. And so seeing if there's space for us to just like let it be. Like, can we just try for maybe here and there if it's not comfortable for you as a practice, an ongoing practice, just like for this one little thing, is it okay to just let it be as it is and to not have to over explain or and not to have to change how you feel or the way that you experience it because it's valid just the way that it is. And just creating more space for your all parts of you feel like they are the way they are. They have their inherent thoughts, feelings, desires, beliefs, and behaviors, and that seeing if we can just give them a little bit of room to breathe, uh, even before like swooping in and trying to help them or save them or change them and all the things that we try to do internally. Um, and then there's the need to feel loved. So this one is, I think, variable depending on what makes you feel loved. Honestly, I can't dictate that for you, but I think for me, what I can share is that it's like I feel the most loving with myself when I give myself the self acceptance, and then also when I just let myself know that like I have my own back and that I'm not going anywhere. Like presence, I think, is really important for me because I had some sort of like unavailable parenting when I was younger, and so I often really felt alone. So for me, feeling loved means I'm present with myself. I uh, check in with myself really often, like every single day, multiple times a day. But that's just my practice, and what it's grown into for me. So it looks different for everybody, and I would love to hear as you're going through this video and trying things for yourself, like what feels good for you. If you'd like to share what any practices or any tools that have helped you meet your needs and help feel more self-validated from the inside, feel free to do that in the comments. I love to read your comments. Thank you so much also for all the people who have been sending such lovely messages and comments through YouTube, through email, through Instagram. Like, I'm so grateful to have this community and to be sharing this wisdom with you. So I hope that was helpful, and let me know if this sparks any other ideas for videos you might want to see in the future. Let me know what you learned, and I will see you in the next video.